Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mario Harris. Got my wonderful and illustrious co-host, Avon Hinton, and this is Building Minds, Build Community podcast. Today, we have a special guest, a man about business, a husband, a father, an entrepreneur, an author, speaker, 30 plus years, Marine Corps Sergeant Major retired, Veney Cochran. So we're gonna ask Mr. Cochran a few questions today, and he's gonna share what's on his heart. He's gonna share about his book, about the next book and the next book. He's gonna share about some of the professional relationships that he has. So, hey, you're going to be blessed today as Mr. Veney Cochran start talking. Mr. Cochran.
What's going on, family? And first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be on your podcast with you and Avon. What MNAC Incorporated is doing for this community in particular, as you know, it's something I'm 100% behind. So I just thank you for the opportunity to be here, to speak on your podcast, your show, and hopefully through my network, your network, we get MNAC seen and explored a whole lot more so that you can do more great things.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Veney. So 30 years, Marine Corps Sergeant Major. What I've been told is less than 1% of military volunteers get promoted to the rank of Sergeant Major or Master Gun Sergeant, E9 in the Department of Defense. That's a very difficult task to navigate. And then as a father and a husband, that's a very difficult task to navigate. So talk about some of your highs and some of your lows.
Well, right, there's definitely been, as you can imagine, some highs and lows. And I will tell you that stat that you mentioned, I didn't hear that stat until my actual retirement date. I never knew that it was, that less of a community. I guess I should have seen it, but I didn't really realize it because I think once I made the decision in my mind that that's what I wanted to become, it wasn't about looking at numbers. It was just simply about looking at, what do I have to do in order to accomplish that goal? And as you mentioned, it was a lot of those setbacks that gave me the fuel and the fire to keep pushing in order to make that happen. Because along my journey, it wasn't pretty. I was NJP'd. I had a court martial that I won. I had my ups and downs. But it's because of people that I had in my corner, from the very young time that I was a young Lance Corporal, all the way through that helped guide me and mentor me, all the way up to the point where I got promoted and continued, to move along, in the Sergeant Major space. It was those mentors and other leaders that I looked to that helped me out in it. Had it not been for the trials, I wouldn't have had the success that I had.
Yes. Avon and myself, we're also retired Marines, and we do understand the journey of going from the Yellow Footprints boot camp, the start of boot camp, to phase 1, 2, and 3 graduation, and then transition to Fleet Marine Corps, and then climbing the ladder of the rank structure. So who was your biggest influence when you got promoted to the senior enlisted ranks? And for those that might not be familiar, talking about E7 to E9.
Well, I would definitely have to say my biggest influences came, well, I'm gonna back up some. I had two major influences as a young Lance Corporal. Both of these individuals were sergeants at the time, my first platoon sergeant, and then my second platoon sergeant. Those were probably the biggest influences I've had along my entire 30-year career, because what they showed me at that young age in the Marine Corps is that, number one, I can accomplish anything that I want. And they gave me a blueprint, so to speak, of things not to do and things to do simply by the way they led as young sergeants. And I carried that with me my entire time in the Marine Corps. You know, as a senior enlisted, the one thing I always looked at my younger Marines for was, did they model what I expected from those two sergeants back then? You know, and that was the blueprint for me. You know, they had to have that in order for, you know, me to consider them, you know, the cream of the crop. And if they wasn't there, it was my duty and my responsibility to help get them there. And then once I was able to make it to the drill field and be a drill instructor, you know, I had two more great influences. First sergeant and a sergeant major Todd Ellis, was key and instrumental in, you know, the path that I took until getting to the drill field. All I really wanted to do is make it to gunnery sergeant. You know, I went to the drill field at the 10-year mark, and all I wanted to do was make it to gunny, retire at 20 years. I wasn't around a lot of first sergeants and sergeants major at the time. Getting down there and being around those individuals and seeing the impact that they can have on an entire unit is what made me decide that I wanted to go further than that. And in that 3 years that I was on the drill field, I was able to go from sergeant to gunnery sergeant because of a meritorious promotion to gunnery sergeant, thanks to those two individuals. And that just propelled me from there. You know, I made it to my goal of gunnery sergeant, you know, 7 years earlier than I expected. So now I had 7 years. Now I had 13 more years or whatever to try to figure out, you know, how am I going to get to this pinnacle rank of E9, whether it was going to be master gunnery sergeant or sergeant major that I wanted. I know I wanted to hit that top rank. So it was those two individuals on the drill field that kind of gave me the guidance and another blueprint to help get me there.
Now, you and your wife have been married how many years?
We'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary this December.
Congratulations, 25 years.
Appreciate that.
So talk a little bit about the journey now, you know, when you got married and leading up to retiring from the Marine Corps. How did you have to adjust your plan? Because now you had had a son, you had a wife. Did you have to adjust your plan any, or did it fit in the model that you had already scripted for your life?
I guess I would have to say the answer to that is both. I had to change the model, but at the same time, you know, it was a perfect fit. You know, when I got married, I'm not going to say fresh out of, but I came out of a previous marriage, and had my son in that previous marriage. And, you know, after a couple of years of being separated and being divorced, was able to get custody of my son. And when I got remarried, my wife now helped me raise that son. So there was a shift on how I needed to look at things, but it was definitely, in my opinion, a perfect fit. We had the same goals and aspirations. We wanted more out of life. Initially, we didn't know what that more was. We both came from backgrounds that society would have said is not the background where you can succeed from. So, you know, we both had a hunger to be more than generations before us. And we just built on that. We met as sergeants in the Marine Corps. And, you know, through luck and prayer, our entire time in the Marine Corps, we were never separated other than when I went on my combat deployments. As you know, many joint marriages in the Marine Corps, you could be stationed on the East Coast, your spouse on the West Coast, you're in Okinawa, whatever the case is. We never had to deal with that. So that was a blessing that helped us to continue moving forward with the things that we wanted.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing.
So looking at your office, I see a couple of, well, I see some of your books there, right? And The Leader in You, which was published in 2019, right?
Correct.
Steps to Unlocking Your Potential. Can you speak about that book a little bit?
Well, when I retired in 2016, my initial plan was, I'm retired. My retirement along with my disability is pretty good. I don't really need to do anything. So I wanted to just sit back and relax a little bit. And I reconnected with a good friend of mine, Dr. Oban Bowen, who's also a retired Marine. And one of the things he mentioned as I began to get some mentorship from him was that with my 30 years of experience and the person who he knew me to be, that I should put that experience in a book, and share those experiences with the world. And, at the time I wasn't really thinking about it, but due to his coaching and his mentoring, what I found is the book was already written. From all the meetings I've attended, from all the notes I've taken over the years, I broke out all of that information, laid it out on the table, and the title and all the chapters of the book was revealed to me. All I had to do was, put it into a proper format. And before I knew it, really within, I think, 5 or 6 months, that book was birthed. And that book has, led to a coaching program that I have, which is 100% based off of the information in that book. And we just continue to push forward. And it's just, 7 steps that I've learned that I think a lot of people can utilize to propel themselves in any way that they want to go in their lives. And those things are simply your mindset, your belief, your attitude. We dive into a little bit of affirmations, visualization, goal setting is big. And then we can't do any of that if we don't discuss what our failures are. So those are the 7 steps that we take individuals through within the book. And it's also the 7 things I take individuals through in the program that I designed around the book.
I would like to touch on the failures you talked about. You have an acronym called FAIL, First Attempt in Learning.
Correct. And to elaborate on that, I think no one is ever going to become successful without the failures that they're going to have. So we have to take all the failures that we have, all the setbacks, all the stumbling blocks, and figure out what is this thing trying to teach us? And how can I build upon that failure to achieve the thing that I want the most? I think a lot of people, when they're trying to map out a plan of what they want, a lot of people tell them to go ahead and write a list of everything you want. You write your vision board, which is all great. I try to tell people, write out all the things you don't want. Make that list. All right, because it's going to be the things that you don't want, which is ultimately going to give you your why of why you want the things that you do want. And most of those things result from the failures we've had, and the setbacks that we had in our life. So fail to me, as you mentioned, is first attempt in learning.
I like to. Go ahead, Abe.
I definitely like that. I definitely like that acronym, and being 30 years in the Marine Corps and experiencing different successes and failures, especially with the drill field, combat deployments, and just getting to that point in the Marine Corps. I think all 3 of us can express that we failed at multiple things in our careers, both leadership, professionally, and achieving some of the goals that we want. So that's definitely a great approach in how you broke that down into taking the things that you don't want, because that's one of the things that I think we need to focus more on the things we don't want out of life, the things we don't want out of a certain situations, put those things up there so we can tailor how to get to what we want
Exactly.
by avoiding those things. So I think that's ingenious.
Appreciate that.
So in your book, page 17, this is my core belief that one's true potential lies not within the possibilities of achieving what they want in life, but instead lies within the revelation of what they have to offer and to give others.
Absolutely. I think in life, everybody has their own definition of what success is. And when I look at success and the potential to have success, I don't look at me, I don't look at myself. Everything that I do and everything that I've done from the minute my son was born. Before my son was born, unfortunately, even when I was married, which is, probably one of the reasons why that marriage didn't work, a lot of things were about me, that selfish part of me. But as I've grown and when my son was born in 92, the light bulb went off. It's about more than me. At that point, it was about him. And from there, I realized it was about so many other individuals. And, how can I provide value to as many people as I can provide value to? And once you start looking at life that way, in my opinion, that's when you start achieving the things that you want, because there's a saying out there that I'm sure you've probably heard, that if you help enough individuals get what they want in life, you can ultimately have and get, everything that you want in life.
Yep, definitely heard that.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. In the regards to, MENAC Incorporated, mentoring youth and young adults, our path, as all three of us are involved in volunteering with MENAC, our path is to mentor. We mentor youth and young adults because without our youth and young adults, there won't be another Veney Cochran. There won't be another Avon Hinton. There won't be another Mario Harris. Not a duplicate, but someone that we have poured into our adversities and some of our successes, and then they use their method to be successful, because that's what mentorship is all about. Proximity and access. I am in proximity of you two are in proximity of me. But the most important thing is we have access to one another.
Absolutely.
That is profound for our youth and young adults. They're in proximity with some great men and women, but they don't have access to them that can help them, influence them to make better decisions than what they're normally doing, right? Because majority of the time, teenagers, the proximity, and then they have access to other teenagers.
Mhm.
And the other teenagers, they don't know any more than they know.
Yeah.
So they definitely need to be mentored by professional and mature men and women so that they can be successful in using their method, because God has given them a certain method for them to use. And we have to also, like with our kids. Yeah, we want our kids to be better than what we were and what we are, but they can't do it exactly like we did it because they're not us. And it took me some time to understand that, especially while I was in a green machine. It's a green machine, we're moving at probably 1,000 miles per hour.
Sure.
And we handle it. We, in our mind, we're taking care of everything. And that's
Right.
not always the case,
I definitely think even tying back into what we spoke about before yesterday, Mario, and even tying into some of the tenets in the book is, like you said, those failures. Obviously, we didn't want to repeat the same failures our parents had with us and pass those down to our children. And as far as the mentorship goes, one of the biggest things that I think we can do to the youth is to tell them and explain to them our failures, and then explain to them how we've arrived to where we've gotten to, through those failures and learn how we've learned and taken those processes to and to better enhance and not repeat those things, generationally passing those things down. So like to the youth out there, basically taking our lessons learned from our failures and saying, this is exactly the mistakes that we made. This is what you need to look at, not repeating. And this is where you can arrive to by not making the same mistakes.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So let's get into swag.
Yeah.
Succeeding with a goal.
All right.
Succeeding with a goal. And let's talk about swag and about your journey to copyright and trademark. And yesterday we was at a meeting and Mr. Veney, hey, a lot of times we promote other people brands,
Right.
which I have no problem with that. I do not have a problem with that. But what I like about yesterday, Mr. Veney was wearing his own brand.
From head to toe.
From head to toe, he was wearing his own brand. So we're definitely going to promote his brand.
Right.
We're going to promote his brand because one thing that we do know about him is he is a professional. He's a husband. He's a father. He is a citizen. He is a retired Marine veteran, Sergeant Major, 30 plus years. He has been around this world protecting, fighting for the United States of America. And we're definitely going to promote his brand because it's a positive brand, because he cares about people. It's not just dollars and cents. But let's talk about swag.
Well, swag came about, actually. The name swag, it's kind of funny. The name came about when I was in the military. As I was getting ready to transfer out, one of the things I've always done as a sergeant major is when I had Marines of any rank that were getting ready to, whether it was PCS or get out of the Marine Corps, I would do a debrief with them, find out, what they thought about the command, what they thought about me as an individual, me as a Marine, to give me some insight on how I could do better by the command. And what was funny is one of the things that the younger Marines would always comment on was, as Sergeant Major, you got a certain swag to you. So I kind of adopted it. I went with it. So once I retired and I started my, me and my wife, we started our first company, Elite Justice Success Group, and we started to branch off of that. Swag was one of the first companies that we placed under the umbrella. And as you said, it stands for Succeeding with the Goal, originated with a coaching program that we have, a 12-week coaching program. And I decided to go back a bit. I've always liked fashion. And back in the day, I actually created a pair of sneakers for a very well-named company. I won't say the name, but I redesigned a pair of sneakers that were already out there, and I did it just to be different. Growing up in New York City, you want to be a little bit different. And I created these sneakers. I wore them around and people would ask me, where'd I get them from? And I told them, mine. Didn't know anything about copywriting, trademarking, or anything like that. But probably a year or so later, I found that brand of sneakers were being sold by that company. Now I'm not saying they stole the idea, because what I realized is that when God gives a person an idea, I realize he doesn't just give it to that one person.
That's right.
He gives that same idea to many people to see who's going to take it the furthest. I took it one step, somebody else took it a different step. And ever since then, it's always been in the back of my mind to design a pair of sneakers. And the opportunity came up actually a few months ago. I designed my first pair, put it out there, got some good reviews for it. And within 30 days, I designed 3 more pair. And, they're all doing very well. So that's something that we're building upon now. couple of different clothing items we're going to start doing. And ultimately, we're going to go into, high level fashion with executive suits and things of that nature, which is where I feel most comfortable.
Oh yeah, now that's where we live at now, Mr. Veney. I love having a suit on.
Oh yes, definitely.
But all of that is just extraordinary, and like I said, we're going to continue to promote your brand. Succeeding with a goal, and as MENAC moves and our territory is going to expand, and Mentor Life International, our leadership and diversity, equity, and inclusion, and Building Minds, Builds Community podcast goes up under that banner. We're going to continue to promote what you are doing, what the Cochrans are doing, because I know our sister is soon to become, I call her doctor right now, but she's soon to become Dr. Cochran. So
Absolutely.
we're definitely looking forward to that, and praying and promoting that, and supporting everything that you all are doing. And you're working on another book?
Yes, I am. Right now, I have the title down as Identity Crisis. Okay. That may change a little bit, but the premise of the book is we have so many people out there, and I think we've all been in positions in our lives where we were trying to find ourselves, trying to find out who we were as individuals in order to get to where we maybe at the time thought we wanted to be. And then there may have been some shifts that ultimately showed us the light to who we are and who we should be, or who we should become. So Identity Crisis, when I spell that out, I spell it EYE, identity, because you have to be able to see yourself for who you are. And I think that's the challenge that a lot of people, especially our youth, I think that's the challenge that they have right now. They don't see themselves for who they are. They see themselves for who other individuals are telling them they should be. And of course, we know that's based off of the environment that they are in, the people that they're surrounding themselves with. And as you know, through MENAC, we're trying to get individuals to see something a little bit different. Take them to places they haven't been before, so that they can experience things they haven't experienced before, and open up their minds and their eyes to the rest of the world that's out there. And that's what Identity Crisis is going to be about. How do you do a little bit more self-reflection, look inside yourself, and unlock and unleash the potential that you truly have, those gifts that we were inherently born with, but unfortunately over time, like a computer, the more junk that you put into that computer, the harder it is for you to really tap into that foundation of what the computer has to offer. Because you have too much history, too many files and programs in there, and it makes your computer run a little bit slower when you ask it, give it a command to get something. So that's what the book is going to be about.
Okay.
Awesome. So I do have a question about your current book, and not just your current book, but everything you're doing right now. We all like to think globally and what we want to go, but as far as the current area you're in right now, what is your goal for swag and everything you're doing right now for your current community around here? Where do you see yourself at in the near future?
Well, in the near future, we're definitely looking globally. I have a few global contacts. One of the books you see behind me, World Civility, Developing Human Equity. I was able to co-author that book with a lot of great individuals. One of those individuals, has been given his own kingdom in Africa. And he's a developmental king. And what that does, it allows him to build upon the infrastructure, within his kingdom, whether it be through education, buildings, and things of that nature. So, I'm in the process right now of working with him, to be able to take swag globally. And
Okay.
what I mean by that is we're going to have, different, I guess I would call them ambassadors in different countries, that would carry that program, into different countries, the same as we plan on doing here in the United States. We're already working at, setting up something in the Miami and the Orlando area where I tend to travel a lot to do business. We're going to explore into the New York area and things of that nature, and just build upon it. Because I think, everyone has the ability, to grow to a different level. And I think without setting goals and having a plan to do that, you're going to be running around in circles.
Absolutely. Definitely. Thank you for that insight. I appreciate that.
Yeah, SMART goals is definitely something that was introduced to us. I'll just say for me, it was introduced to me while I was in the Marine Corps, and I still use it. And we use it with the youth and young adults when we're planning, we're doing goal setting. So, Mr. Veney, if you can just talk about this certain plane ride that you was on, this private jet that you was on. It's within the last year, I believe.
It was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Number one, it's something that I encourage individuals. If you have a dream, a big desire that you may think that you can't accomplish or it's too far out there for you, put it out there. Because once you put it out there, what I found is, God will make a way. And what I did back then, I put a post up, with a private jet and a Rolls Royce sitting on the tarmac. And the good friend that I told you about, Dr. Oban Bowen, he goes, well, how bad do you want this? I said, pretty bad. He goes, so are you willing to invest in yourself and go on this private jet mastermind that I'm setting up? I said, absolutely. So I invested in that, and I had to make it to Miami, and we took I think it was about 8 of us, took a private jet from Miami to the Bahamas and spent the day in the Bahamas with a bunch of millionaires. Just having those individuals pour into us, everything that they went through, the ups and downs, and getting all of those golden nuggets. And what I realized is, as you've probably heard, once the mind expands, it can't retract. So that vision that I have of being in that private jet has opened up so many other doors, because I know there's nothing out there that I can't have and can't accomplish if I don't want it. The toughest thing about that trip was flying back here to North Carolina on a commercial flight. But in all honesty, it was funny because on that commercial flight flying back, I actually had to sit in between 2 of the largest individuals I've ever had to sit on a plane. But it didn't bother me for 1 second because of what I had just experienced. So the whole plane ride back, in my mind, I was still on the private jet. We got off that private jet in the Bahamas and was escorted by the police to the resort in Rolls Royces. So that opened my eyes, tremendously. So I tell people to dream as big as you can dream, and then take it a step further. If you have that dream car you want, don't just dream about it. Go test drive it.
That's right.
At the very least, go sit in it. Go walk through these $1 million mansions, or if it's not $1 million mansions you want, $500,000, $600,000 houses. All right. And once you start thinking about these things on a regular basis, I think God will present a way and an opportunity for you to have all of those things. You just have to have your eyes open and be ready to act once you see it.
Absolutely.
Great. Great comment, great statements. I just, the vision, that you have, that God has given you, that you're acting on. Because as you said earlier, God gives all of us great ideas, and he gives some of those great ideas to multiple people. And you only know that because of the spaces you've been in. When we get around like-minded people and we start sharing our vision, and that person to the left or the right or in front of you may start smiling because they already had that vision. You know, and like being around like-minded people is very important. It is very important. The history of the Marine Corps over 240 some years, and the thing that helped the Marine Corps grow, it was foundation, right? Structure. And then the relationships of the individual Marines. That's what helped it grow. And that's how the Marine Corps has been able to fight and win so many battles to become the premier fighting force in the world because of the individual relationships amongst enlisted officers and enlisted, and then tying that in with different agencies of the government and local agencies in the cities where the bases are. That's why Marine Corps is the great fighting force. And that's why when we're around and we have access to people that think globally, it changes our mindset. Exposure, as you talked about, Mr. Veney. Yes, we're going to expose these young men and young women to different sites and things that they haven't seen or even thought about, or they may have seen on a video or on a movie or whatever. And that changes people's mindset when they're able to have access to something that they thought was utterly not possible. And that's what we're doing. You got anything, Adrian?
Yeah, I definitely think also in that is building trust. Through that leadership that we had, as I say, the individual who recommended you get on that private plane and take a trip with them, if you had no trust in that individual's leadership or their sense of, you probably would have been like, I don't really know if this is for me or whatnot. But you had that trust in their leadership ability, you had that trust and confidence in them that you said, I'm gonna take this leap because this person wouldn't steer me wrong. And building that, and I think when you said what makes the Marine Corps the greatest fighting force, I think, is the tenets of leadership that we instill in Marines because they're willing to attack whatever hill, they're willing to take on whatever objective because they have that trust in your leadership that you are doing what's right for them and leading them the right way. So I definitely think that's absolutely correct in what you're saying, and building that leadership is a foundational thing. And I think definitely MENAC and SWAG are definitely two different vehicles that are heading the same direction on the same highway to achieve the same goal. So definitely glad to be around individuals that are part of both of these organizations.
Thank you. Any last rounds, Mr. Veney?
Well, the only thing I'll say is, again, I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be here and join a platform with you two amazing individuals. But one thing that I will touch on before we close out is, we talked a little bit about the being around like-minded individuals, and that is so important. But I think sometimes people focus so much on that they forget there's other individuals out there. I've read and I've heard from so many people on this thing called the 33% rule, which is, to achieve the best and be the best for the most people, you want to surround yourself with 33% of individuals who are above you and have those things that you want to achieve. 33% of those like-minded individuals that we talked about. Of course, 33% of individuals that are below you, so that you can give them that hand up and help them along their journey. And then there's that 1% that's left, and that's that 1% that you have to take the time out for yourself. You have to sit with yourself, to me, on a daily basis. Do that self-reflection, plan out your next day, your next morning, whatever it is, so that every morning that you wake up, you have a goal that you want to achieve. If not, you're just waking up and going through the motions. So by surrounding yourself with the right people, as we talked about, and then taking that little bit of time each day to focus on you and what you want to do, I think it's a simple but very powerful roadmap to achieving anything that a person wants to achieve.
That's awesome. I definitely like that.
Yeah, I like that 33%. So we want to thank you, Mr. Veney Cochran, for coming on Building Minds, Builds Community today with host Avon and Mario. There were a lot of nuggets that you gave out today, and hopefully the viewers will be taking notes and empower them or motivate them to live out a dream that they have and not be stagnant. Because if you're not motivated and you're not having fun,
it's your own damn fault.
there it is. There it is. So, people, you individual, you got to get moving. If you got a dream, you got a vision, put some action to that dream or that vision. If you don't have a dream or a vision or a desire, change your circle. Change your circle. Once again, I'm Mario. That's Avon. Our guest, Mr. Veney Cochran, today. I want to thank you so much for being on Building Minds, Builds Community podcast. Please like and share this so that we can help expand Mr. Veney Cochran territory, because he's already expanded globally. But there's somebody that you know that don't know Mr. Veney Cochran. So we want to introduce them to Mr. Veney Cochran. Thank you.
Appreciate it.